Hello, I'm Dr. Robert E. Braylock, and I serve on the Board of Directors for the Jane Addams Peace Association. It's an honor and privilege to welcome you today to our 2021 Jane Addams Children's Book Award ceremony. We're pleased that you have decided to join us as we celebrate amazing authors and illustrators that are advancing peace, global community, social justice, and equity. Today's ceremony, like many of ceremonies that have taken place over the course of this last year, is taking place virtually, but we're pleased that we are hosting the ceremony virtually at the Mazza Museum at the University of Findlay. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Ben Sapp, who serves as the director of the Mazza Museum at the University of Findlay. Thank you.
The University of Findlay's Mazza Museum, the first and largest collection of over 17,000 original works of art from picture books in the world, is honored and humbled to host the Jane Addams Book Award. My name is Benjamin Sapp, director of the Mazza Museum, and would like to welcome you for this special event. The University of Findlay's Mazza Museum strives for an environment in which all individuals are treated with respect and dignity. Each individual has the right to study and work in an atmosphere that promotes equal opportunities and prohibits discriminatory practices of any kind. In 1982, the late Dr. Jerry Mallett, former professor of education at then Findlay College, proposed an idea to build a museum dedicated to the art from picture books. With 4 pieces of art provided through a gift from the late Dr. August and Alida Mazza, the collection began. The Mazza Museum at the University of Findlay, originally housed in the basement of our Schaefer Library, was formally dedicated on January 23, 1983. The museum's history is very short, and with deep respect for the original people of this place, I must acknowledge that the museum is on Shawnee, Miami, and Seneca land, and as such we humbly host today's ceremony from the home of the land of these people. The University of Findlay is launching a research project in order to more fully acknowledge the university's presence on this indigenous land. The Mazza Museum enhances the academic experience for all University of Findlay students as they pursue meaningful lives and productive careers. Findlay students from all majors can experience a unique learning and develop opportunities through touring the museum, volunteering, and participating in its programs. Art students have the opportunity to meet professional artists. Education students develop skills to teaching literacy, and healthcare students learn how books can help families cope with health issues. The Mazza Museum also has provided cultural diverse experiences like the Back of the Bus exhibit, the Underground Railroad exhibit, the Juneteenth exhibit, and also bringing from Japan illustrators to share with audience of all ages. The Mazza Museum celebrates the art of world-class artists and authors who bring books to life, giving them the platform to share the creative process and a permanent home for their preservation and the care of their contributions to their craft. To experience the museum is to develop an understanding of how artists use pictures to illustrate the words and the meaning of a story. Visitors see every aspect of the process from the first sketch to the final original work of art that became part of the book. The museum nourishes and inspires people of all ages and enthusiasm for books and art and how they impact life. By visiting Mazza, children experience the cultural interaction they can appreciate. The picture books the museum highlights can be the child's first step toward the lifelong love of reading and understanding. These beautiful illustrations capture the imaginations of young readers as they learn to recognize the meaning behind the images as well as to read to understand the language. As these awards are given today, please know how excited and honored University of Findlay's Mazza Museum is to be a part of recognizing these wonderful creators and the work that they do to engage children in thinking about peace, social justice, global community, and equality for all people. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce Susan Fries, President of the Jane Addams Peace Association.
Well, thank you, Ben, and thank you so much to the Mazza Museum for hosting us. And I'm so sorry that we were unable to hear that first part of your presentation. I find myself today just full of appreciation and questions. My appreciation is for creativity and collaboration. The creativity and collaboration of our authors and illustrators and all those who worked with them to bring their powerful work to fruition. and the creativity and collaboration of the 2020-2021 Jane Addams Children's Book Award Selection Committee, who, with the careful guidance of Andrea O'Brien, chair, met a myriad of challenges. They worked with a brand new year-long selection process. They honored for the very first time finalists. In November, the 26 finalists were announced for the first time, and they met the challenges of the pandemic shutdown and what that meant in the publishing world. I'm appreciative of the creativity and collaboration of our board of directors, who are working to align all that we do toward actively dismantling racism and oppression. If you haven't already, please take a look at our website and you will see our collaboration with teachingbooks.net. And through our work with them, we are able to offer incredible resources and author interviews for nearly all of our Jane Addams Children's Book Awards, past and present. Thank you to teachingbooks.net for your willingness to share and your initiative. We have particular gratitude for the Hastings Peace and Justice Fund and the Dunham family for their ongoing support of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award and ceremonies. Please consider joining them in supporting our work. A gift of any size will go to enlarge our programming and can be earmarked to send social justice books to libraries, schools, and community centers in need. And now for my questions. My questions are really about how to respond to the world of 2021, the violence to people and planet, and the unveiled racism and injustice, the systemic racism and injustice. The Jane Addams Peace Association's mission is to deepen understanding of peace and justice for children and their adults through reflection, dialogue, and social action. Children in attendance, welcome. Adults, you belong to the children and you're here for their future. I predict that in witnessing, watching, and listening to our selection committee members and authors and honored authors and illustrators today, we are going to be moved to reflect and reflect deeply. And further, that we're going to want to talk about it. Dialogue, yes. But what about the action piece, the social action? And here's where I have questions for adults and children. What does it mean to be a change maker? Do you see yourself as a change maker? And what about each of these 6 honored books? What action does each of those books stir in you? Be it small or be it very large? What action, what social action are you already undertaking? And what is something that you've not done before that you can do? And how can you be creative with this, all of this? And perhaps most importantly, how can you collaborate? Because we must. And now, let's participate in the 2021 Jane Addams Children's Book Award ceremony. We'll begin with Jane Addams herself, and I think you'll see that our questions are alive, were alive in her life 100 years ago. And then we'll proceed with presentations from the selection committee and acceptances and remarks from each of our authors and illustrators. After the ceremony, the formal part, we'll reconvene for a conversation among our honored authors and illustrators and on the topic of social action. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Carole, and I'm pleased to introduce the title, Black is a Rainbow Color. Written by Angela Joy, illustrated by Equa Holmes, and published by Roaring Brook Press in 2020. This picture book features a young African-American girl sitting on her front stoop, pondering the many colors of a rainbow. Yet her color is black, and that color is not in a rainbow. However, she thinks of many beautiful things that are black, promptly drawing them with crayons, all in vivid colors, outlined in black. Black as a crayon tangled in a box. Black as a feather on white winter snow. Black as the dirt where sunflowers grow. My color is black. This narrative poem reads like a song that resounds with familiar symbols and motifs, as an anthem to black-eyed peas, cooking skillets for fry bread, braids, molasses, and magnolia trees. It is for art, for music, for birds in cages that continually sing. The child speaks, celebrating the beauty of black. Black is family, black is community, black is culture, it is love, it is memory. The memory of Thurgood Marshall, Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, Emmett Till, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahalia Jackson, and more. It is also a story of the Great Migration, the Montgomery bus boycott, the Civil Rights Movement, and Dr. Martin's dream. A song that crescendos as it is sung into a huge family tree that wraps the past with the present in its strong, quiet, black limbs. But it is impossible to talk about the lyrical text without simultaneously noting the aesthetic harmony provided in Equa Holmes' art. Her illustrations are rendered in mixed media with meticulous attention to detail. Even the sidewalks, under walking feet, are comprised of civil rights era newspaper clippings. And the road map filling Thurgood Marshall's double-page spread is covered in squiggly, complementary colored lines, while diagonal trains and tracks speak of his travels as an attorney for the NAACP. My personal favorite illustration is a double-page spread in which black is for stones, bearing witness to prayer. And those stones augment vibrantly hued stained glass window images of the four godmothers of the civil rights movement. Windows like those that portray saints, the faithful, a strong cloud of witnesses. Mamie Till Mobley, Ella Baker, Marion Wright Edelman, and Fannie Lou Hammer. The finale of the story, poem, song is set in the present, featuring the Black Lives Matter marchers and everyday people and family before concluding when the little girl explains. So you see, there is no black in rainbows, no black in green or blue, but in my box of crayons, black is a rainbow too. Angela and Equa contextualize the protagonist's story in an encore of back matter, providing crucial information helpful for adults who will share this with children. Black is a Rainbow Color meets all Jane Addams Children's Book Award criteria and does so with literary and aesthetic excellence. This title can spark some children's desire to share about their own Black history and culture, and it can also promote dialogue to deepen what may be new information for some and familiar, comforting information for others. This book can help all children gain necessary understandings to begin moving into activism in ways that feature the leadership of African Americans, and particularly Black women and girls, so as to advance equity, justice, and peace. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Angela Joy, author of Black is a Rainbow Color, and I am thrilled to be here today as a new member of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award family. Thank you so much for honoring our book today. When I began writing Black is a Rainbow Color, I wasn't doing it for love of the craft. In fact, I was new to writing and didn't really have an idea of what I was doing. But what I did have was a deep commitment to bringing diversity to children's bookshelves. My own children were small at the time, and I was having difficulty locating books that reflected their appearance, their perspectives, their cultural norms. And this was really disheartening to me. So, because I was home with them, because I had time, flexibility, opportunity, and vision, I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring as an author, trying to be the change I wanted to see. It was a long process, a process with excellent teachers. My agent, Jamie Weiss-Chilton, and my editor, Connie Shu, helped me to polish, define, and trim my ideas so that we could form a firm foundation for the brilliant artwork of Aqua Holmes. The outcome was more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. Equally as beautiful has been the reception for Black is a Rainbow Color, especially that from the Jane Addams Peace Association. Being honored by the Jane Addams Peace Association, an organization that has worked for decades to bring social justice and peace to the nation and the world, is a special prize. It's affirmation that we're on the right track in our pursuit of bookshelf diversity, and it tells us that we're starting in the right place, with children. I can't tell you how much that means to me. 2020 was rough. My hometown is Minneapolis, and George Floyd was killed not far from where I attended high school. My current community has struggled to find its better angels in the midst of political and racial discord. The only thing that kept me from hiding under my bed and never coming out were those Zoom calls. Zoom calls with children all over the country who still had hope. Children who had a vision of love and peace. Children who, regardless of hue, would sing along with the playlist, "Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud," or "Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty." Children who, with new language and permission and tools, were willing to go out there and change the world. The Jane Addams Peace Association gives children those tools. And for that reason, I am so proud to be part of their arsenal, an arsenal of peace. So, many congratulations to the outstanding class of 2021 Book Award winners, nominees, and honorees. As I say to my students, shine your shade, for at the end of the storm, when the sun comes peeking through, the rainbow is you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Aqua Holmes, and I'm speaking to you from my hometown of Roxbury, Massachusetts. I'm happy to be here with you today to celebrate the Jane Addams Peace Award for books that help young readers reflect on and question our world. I'm also very excited to accept an honor for my role as illustrator for Black is a Rainbow Color by Angela Joy. I was surprised to find out that the Jane Addams Peace Award has been around doing this important work since 1953, before I was born. When I first read the manuscript for Black is a Rainbow Color, I could imagine all of the wonderfully rich conversations that would come out of reading it, together as a family, in the classroom, and even independently. What does it mean to look for your color, your culture in the world, and not find it anywhere? Black is a color that makes other colors shine. We find this evident in the coloring book, a mainstay of early childhood and part of my inspiration for the illustrations. As you can see, in coloring books, children are offered Black outlined illustrations and then given the chance and the choice about how they will color their world. Will the hat be red or blue? Will the bird be yellow or purple? What color will the characters be? During my childhood, there was no such thing as a box of crayons celebrating diversity. Sometimes you made your color from overlapping 2 or even 3. The flesh tone crayon was an unfortunate tool of white supremacy hidden in the coveted 64 crayon box with built-in sharpener. Along with the flesh-colored Band-Aid, we accepted it as children, not really understanding all that it meant. I also imagined, while reading this manuscript, being a parent or educator faced with this intelligent and insightful question from a child. In Angela Joy's text is everything they would need to have a reflective and spirited conversation with that child or even in the classroom. A conversation that touches on history, music, family, political activism and collective movement, everyday cultural icons, and much, much more. Here are some early sketches of my work, and you can see that the power of the Black line is already evident. It was such a joy to celebrate icons like Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Thurgood Marshall, and Fannie Lou Hamer, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement and the Civil Rights movement. Right now, I'm thrilled to be part of this generation's book publishing industry, pushing boundaries, challenging norms, breaking rules, building new literary and illustrated worlds for all children to explore and see themselves. Thank you to the Jane Addams Award Committee for recognizing Black is a Rainbow Color as worthy of honor. There are so many who made this book what it is. First, Angela Joy, for realizing that a moment between she and her daughter could help parents begin conversations with their children. To the publisher, for inviting me to be a part of this rainbow. And an extra special thanks to them for having patience as I healed from breaking my right dominant arm in the middle of this project. The gift basket and card you sent helped me feel that my injury was not a huge problem, but just a little bump in the road. I wasn't sure I could finish the project, but with your support and encouragement, the book was completed. I want to thank my agent, the illustrious Ruben Pfeffer, who always finds such interesting and rewarding projects for me to be a part of. And finally, to my granddaughter Song, who inspires me every day as she evolves into her own storytelling artistry and understanding of her cultural heritage. I always say that every book is a universe and a university, with lessons for the creators as well as the readers. From Black is a Rainbow Color, I learned many ways to express the pride and love I have for my culture. Black is history, Black is family, Black is memory, Black is community. Black is the love that lives inside of me. Weaving, wrapping, lifting, laughing, hoping, grasping, quiet, strong. My color is Black. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Jongsan Wee. I am honored to present the Jane Addams Peace Association's honor for books for younger readers. Ocean Speaks: How Murray Tharp Revealed the Ocean's Biggest Secret, written by Jess Keating, illustrated by Hickey, and published by Tundra Books. One of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award criteria is the excellent portrayal of people working for power and equality for women throughout the world. Toward this end, the 2021 selection committee recognized the importance of Ocean Speaks, which introduces Murray Tharp's story. As a young girl, Marie liked to explore the world with curious eyes, and she wanted to pursue her passion for science. But as women were not accepted in the sciences at the time, it was not until America entered World War II, sending its men away to war, that she was given the opportunity to do so. Later, when she was hired at a laboratory in New York City, she wished she could join the team who sailed to explore the ocean floor. But women were considered bad luck on boats. Marie had to stay in the lab where she spent numerous hours analyzing the data that her male colleagues sent, mapping point after point inside her small office. As Marie put in endless hours of hard work, her map grew bigger and bigger and bigger. As a result, she discovered the deep valleys and mountains of the mid-Atlantic Ocean ridge. But her findings were negated by her colleague and her significant contributions to the field, which led to the understanding of continental drift and plate tectonics were not recognized by other scientists. Now we know that it was Marie Tharp who discovered what the Atlantic Ocean floor looks like. This concise and child reader-friendly narrative with Katie Hickey's ocean color scheme illustrations, many of which are set on a grid-ruled background reminiscent of cartography paper, introduced Marie's work as an oceanographic cartographer during a time when female scientists were unwelcome and unappreciated. In the small office filled with boxes, Marie is working on the map at her desk with her back hunched and eyes glued to the map. Marie's male colleague is watching her work with a face full of doubts and distrust. The secret of the ocean floor that Marie discovered is illustrated across a 3-page spread in the middle of the book that waits to surprise readers as they unfold it with their hands, and which reminds us of the enormous size of Marie's map. This wonderfully executed picture book brings Marie Tharp's story alive for young readers. Jess Keating's words encourage children to see that gender is not an obstacle to becoming great scientists. It helps them to realize what a hard-working scientist Marie Tharp was, and to imagine that they too can become someone like her, the woman who showed the world the biggest secret of the Atlantic Ocean. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it is so wonderful to make this video for you today as a huge thank you for this incredible honor. For Ocean Speaks to be recognized as an honor book for the Jane Addams Children's Book Award is just absolutely incredible, and it's not something I take lightly. I know the Jane Addams Peace Association recognizes stories of peace, social justice, and equity, and this honor feels close to home for me because that is exactly the feel that I was hoping to embody in telling Marie's story in Ocean Speaks. So this book is all about Marie Tharp, who was a woman with an intelligence and vision that was largely before her time. And after being told she couldn't join her male colleagues on a research ship, she took what could have been a really demoralizing and limiting situation and turned it into an opportunity. This book began a lot like Marie's journey. It didn't look like much. It was just a mess of post-it notes and index cards and loads of research in various notebooks. But the more I learned about Marie's story and the more I learned about her, the more motivated and driven I became to make sure this book became a reality and reached readers all over the place. Marie deserves to be known, and the children of today also deserve to know about her. They deserve to know that even though they may feel small or ignored or underestimated, there are still amazing paths ahead of them. They deserve to know that they can change the world no matter where they're from exactly where they are. So again, thank you so much to the Jane Addams Peace Association for this incredible honor. It's a dream to have Ocean Speaks in the world, and I think Marie herself would largely enjoy the spirit behind this award and the fact that we're all taking time to share stories that empower each other and other people. So let's keep doing exactly that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie, the illustrator behind Ocean Speaks. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to the Jane Addams Association for this award. it's a real honour to be recognised by such an amazing cause and to be among really honourable recipients. So thank you very much. I also want to say thank you to Liz and John at Tundra for having me on this project and for their support and their guidance throughout the project on really homing in on those little details, which I think really brought it to life. Another big thank you to my agent Helen for all her support always during all of my work, not just on this project. She's a rock star. And of course a big thank you to Jess Keating, the author, for writing Marie's story and instigating something which I think will inspire lots of young people going forward. So thank you to all those people. It's amazing to have this award with you guys. A big part of the project for me and for any sort of factual based project is that it has to be immersive, but you also have to be really homing in on those facts, because unlike a traditional sort of fictitious picture book, this story is based on fact, so everything has to be really accurate throughout the project. A spread which I think shows that really well is this spread of Marie in her father's office while she's still a child. So during the process of this project, I did quite a lot of visual research on the time and the place that the story is set and the environments, and it was really important to make sure that these little details in the spread really were accurate to the time period and the science that was being discovered at the time. The way I went about doing this spread was a lot of these elements are hand painted and then digitally assembled in Photoshop. So some examples of the hand painting are things like this. So you can see like the fossil, which is up here, and then also lots of the plants and those sort of bits and pieces, and then also in the blackboard spread it was really important in that spread as well. So obviously all these little books are books that actually came out sort of within 50 years of the time set of this book, but also the science on the blackboard it was important that it was actually things that Marie had been learning about at the time. So I got in touch with Jess, the author, to talk about what she had been learning, what was she had been studying at the time, and she gave me lots of examples of scientific equations and things that I still don't understand or still don't know anything about, but for me it was really important for those details to be really accurate. So that's kind of a little insight into my side of the project, but again, a huge thank you to the association and to everybody involved in the project. It was really wonderful to work on, and I hope it will go on to inspire lots of young people in the future. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Jackie Marshall Arnold, and I am honored to be here presenting Finish the Fight, the brave and revolutionary women who fought for the right to vote, written by Veronica Chambers and her co-authors, Jennifer Schuessler, Amy Padnina, Jennifer Harlan, Sandra Garcia, and Vivian Wang, and published by Versify, an imprint of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. The fight for the right to vote may never be complete. As we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, and as we watch current events that have threatened our core democratic principles of every single person having the right to vote, this book is a critical piece for our lives and for our libraries. Through the pages of this book, the Jane Addams Children's Book criteria shine through, in particular, our work to ensure justice for all people, and our work for power and equity for women throughout the world. In the text, Finish the Fight, Chambers and the New York Times staff celebrate women who fought for the right to vote. But even more importantly, Chambers and her staff focus and celebrate the unsung heroines in our history who fought for every single person to have the right to vote. This beautifully illustrated book shares the work of 13 diverse women who fought to secure that right for all people to be able to vote regardless of race, nationality, or sexual orientation. Many of the women featured in this text were not even considered U.S. citizens, while they still pushed forward for everyone's right to vote. Helping the reader understand what suffrage looks like, exploring how white women historically left out women of color in the suffrage movement, and spotlighting the power of the language are all stories that are shared in this text. And as the authors quote Ida B. Wells Barnett in her chapter, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. Finish the Fight turns the light of truth on for many women who have not had their stories shared as prominently as they should be." Incorporating primary source materials and photographs throughout the book, Chambers and the New York Times staff detailed the suffrage movement through engaging narratives that champion the activism and perseverance of these brave, diverse women. And it is so important to note that the book reminds us the battle over who is fully included in American democracy continues.
I'm Jenny Schuessler.
I'm Amy Pagnani.
Sandra Garcia.
I'm Vivian Wang.
I'm Jennifer Hartland.
I'm Veronica Chambers, and we are the team from the New York Times that wrote Finish the Fight.
It means so much to us that our book, Finish the Fight, is being recognized as a Jane Addams Peace Prize honor book.
The battle for suffrage was waged by an army of women.
It took nearly 100 years. Victory was never promised.
Women weren't given the right to vote, they won it.
Suffragists were Black and white, Asian and Latinx.
Suffragists were immigrant and indigenous, queer and straight, and everything else.
It was hard to winnow down who we would focus on in the book, but it was important for us to celebrate Native American women such as Suzette LaFlèche-Tibbles and Zitkala Sa.
We were especially proud to write about women who used the power of journalism to further the cause. Women like Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, Kavita Idar, and Ida B. Wells Barnett.
We loved that some of the suffragists were not much older than our readers, teenagers like Mabel Pinghua Lee.
We'd like to thank our editors on the book, Kwame Alexander, Margaret Ramo, and Erica Turner.
We were supported by our editors and colleagues at the New York Times, especially Monica Drake, Caroline Kay, Brian Gallagher, Nick Donofrio, Anika Burgess, and Lauren Manley.
2020 turned out to be not only the centennial, but also a powerful year to teach young people about the power and importance of voting.
The fight for suffrage was the fight for democracy, and it isn't over.
We hope Finish the Fight will continue to find new readers, and that the story of American women and voting rights will inspire kids, parents, teachers, and librarians for years to come.
Thanks again to the Jane Addams Peace Prize for this incredible honor.
Hi, hola. My name is Josie Bustos Pelayo. I am one of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award committee members. The 2020 Jane Addams Book Award Honor Book, Land of the Cranes by Aida Salazar, published by Scholastic Press, is beautifully and poignantly written using free verse. 9-year-old Betita fled her native Mexico with her parents due to cartel violence against their family. She recounts her father's stories by describing her familia as a family of cranes that flew north to Los Angeles, Aztlán, the promised land. While working and waiting for their immigration court date, they live in fear of being deported by ICE. Betita goes through heart-wrenching separations, beginning with the deportation of her father, Soon after, Betita and her mother are taken to a detention center at the border. Day after day, harsh experiences are described by Betita about what is happening to her, her mother, and other asylum seekers who came escaping danger. They suffer hunger, cold, insults from the guards, while also finding allyship among other detainees in their fight to be free. Encuentra la dulzura en tu lucha. Find the sweetness in your struggle. These are the words that Betita hears in her papi's voice. What is remarkable about this story is how we see the transformation that Betita goes through. In the beginning, she is a fearful little girl who misses her dad and mostly hides under her mother's wings. While looking for the sweetness in her struggle, she discovers a way to fight from within the freezing walls of the detention center. One part of our criteria calls for dialogue about how people can work with compassion, empathy, and activism to advance Jane Addams' belief that achieving true peace means more than ending war. It means ensuring justice for all people. Betita learns this during her stay in the hielera. Her mother reaches out to everyone by teaching and comforting children and the solitas, unaccompanied minors. These actions teach Betita and the reader that we must have compassion for those who are suffering. She begins to sprout her wings and find her voice after observing her mother's actions and the actions and words of a dreamer, Maricel, who also gets detained. She learns from Maricel about peaceful protest and about standing up for yourself, even in a place so cold and dark. Although Betita and her family are fictional characters, their stories in Land of the Cranes reflect the stories of many people trapped in our current immigration crisis. In recognition of the excellent writing and the lasting impact of its important themes, the Jane Addams Children's Book Award Committee is pleased to present the Jane Addams Children's Book Award honor in the Books for Older Children category to Land of the Cranes by Aida Salazar. Thank you.
Hello, I am Aida Salazar, the author of Land of the Cranes, and I'm here to extend my deep, deep gratitude to the Jane Addams Peace Awards for recognizing Land of the Cranes with an honor. It means a great deal to me because this award so aligns with the hopes woven into my work that strive for social justice, for equity, and for peace. Land of the Cranes is a difficult story. It's about an undocumented 9-year-old Mexican girl incarcerated in a modern-day concentration camp on U.S. soil simply for being a migrant. And she believes that all migrants should be free to fly like cranes across borders. And she uses her picture poems to soar above, to lift herself above the cruelty that she experiences while she's caged. I wrote this story during a time in our country when the 45th president was giving off all of this anti-immigrant rhetoric and dominating our popular consciousness. And as a formerly undocumented immigrant myself, who was born in Mexico and brought over as a baby, these attacks were personal. They were attacks on my immediate family and my communities, and they were so, so wounding. But the truth is that the criminalization of migration has a very long history in the United States and has afflicted different communities, from the Muslim ban to the Japanese concentration camps during World War II to Chinese Exclusion Act to Operation Wetback, and on and on. We're even seeing it displayed despicably on our streets against Asian Americans. So the target on immigrant communities has changed, but at no point has it ever been right. And what's more is that though there might be a change in administration, the urgency remains because it is still happening. And we, all of us, must do everything we can to stop it. As an arts activist, my writing has been the avenue through which I reject injustice. I believe writing revolutionary, transformative, inspirational books for children is one of the most important things that we could be doing during this time. I intended for Land of the Cranes to not only give readers a mirror for those who see themselves reflected in these pages, but also a window into the humanity the real children are experiencing in the U.S., but also to give readers a roadmap, the agency to take action. So through Betita's story and the use of her voice and her art to make a change, I hope readers are inspired to raise their own voices and shut down the forces that seek to render people a target of hate and cruelty or any less valuable and worthy of compassion and love. So thank you, Jane Addams Association, for the existence of this award, for honoring books, all of these books today, and for recognizing the intention of my book to make the world a better place. I'm so grateful and so moved. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Hello, I'm Andrea Maxworthy O'Brien from Madison, Wisconsin, chair of the 2020-21 Selection Committee. I wish to thank my co-chair, Janice Mateo Toledo, and all the members of the Selection Committee for not only their expertise and perspective, but their perseverance and flexibility in the face of all the challenges that 2020 presented. I am presenting the winner of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award for Younger Readers to We Are Water Protectors, written by Carole Lindstrom, illustrated by Michaela Goade, and published by Roaring Book Press. As we are connected and depend on each other, so the text and illustrations of this book work together to tell the story that warns us and urges us to act. The poetic text begins with Nokomis, grandmother, instructing the young girl that water is the first medicine. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us on Mother Earth. Water is sacred. But the water and land are threatened by the ominous black snake or oil pipeline that harms the land and renders the water unfit to drink. Who will stand against the black snake? The fierce young water protector, dressed in the traditional ribbon skirt of the Ojibwe, passionately rallies us against the harm of the pipeline. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one. This powerful call to environmental activism was inspired by the Native American protest at Standing Rock against the Dakota Access Pipeline. The vivid, semi-translucent palette of illustrator Michaela Goade celebrates the flowing beauty of the sky, water, and earth, intensifying the power of the text while honoring the indigenous culture and community through attention to details like the woodland repeating floral patterns of the Anishinaabe. The author and illustrator notes further contribute to our knowledge of water protectors, indigenous culture and beliefs, and the importance of environmental activism. Finally, the last page of the book features an Earth Steward and Water Protector pledge for young readers to sign as a first step toward activism. In the spirit of Jane Addams, We Are Water Protectors calls for young readers to act on behalf of the global community to work for environmental justice. In recognition of a picture book that through words and illustrations reminds readers of all ages that water is sacred and necessary for our existence, that we are all connected and depend on each other, and that together we are all responsible for our earth. I am honored to present the Jane Addams Children's Book Award for Younger Readers to Carole Lindstrom and Michaela Goade.
I would like to say Apajigo Miigwech. Thank you so much to Andrea Maxworthy O'Brien, Janice Mateo Toledo, and all the members of the selection committee for this humbling award. The Jane Addams Peace Prize means so much to me because it honors children's literature that works towards dismantling injustices, towards a more peaceful world. It is such an honor to receive this distinguished and important award that recognizes our book and the message that water is sacred and that we are all connected to each other and to Mother Earth. I am especially grateful this award allows for further recognition of Native peoples and what we are fighting to protect for all of us. And now I want to show you the journey of We Are Water Protectors and how it went from becoming, just notes and scraps and bits of paper to an actual book. And so, first thing was, of course, the idea when I heard about, Standing Rock and really Indigenous peoples fight around really the world to protect the water and the land. I just felt, I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't know what it was. And that's kind of when after reading so much, I knew that I had been, written children's books. So, and I have a previous picture book written. So I thought, well, maybe I could write a picture book or a children's book that could talk about these issues. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from. So then this is all my notes and scribbles, and I like to write with my hand. I always love to start in all my thinking with a pen. And really, that's how I think best is when I'm writing, because just so many thoughts come into me. It just seems they flow from my brain through my pen, really like a vein. And it comes out on the page. So I like to just think and write and scribble, and so you'll see, just a lot of different notes and any kind of paper, a lot of little Post-it notes, just any type of paper I can find. I write notes on. And then I start to type after I have some thoughts about how the story is going to go and what it's going to be. And that's when I start to type. And then I share my stories with my critique partners and friends that read my stories and give me their input. So then their input is usually something like this. And then I do a lot more scribbling and writing as I think through what they wrote to me. And here's some more really great comments from my wonderful critique partners that I would be totally lost without. Also, just a lot of notes here. So this is where it all starts, and then I share it with my agent. And then again, I'll take more notes. I write down everything we talk about on the phone. I just write everything down because I have to be able to refer back to it. I'm always afraid I'm going to forget something. So this is how my story begins, and then like I said, it goes on to typing, and then the drafts and the mini revisions that I make to it, and then it finally becomes something that we can send out to editors. And then, so that's what happened. We sent it out, of course, and then it was found Roaring Book Press, and then we found the amazing Michaela Goade and worked together. Her and I worked together really well, closely. I should say she's a dear friend of mine on the book, getting the, just the cultural details correct. And so that they were, appropriate for, since I'm Ojibwe and Michaela's Tlingit, we just wanted to be sure that, you know, she was very diligent about making sure that she got the cultural details as correct in the story. So after that, and her illustrations were done, and then the book, the next thing I saw after, you know, her some sketches as we went is the what they call F and Gs, which are when they're folded and gusseted. So that's when you get to see the cover, which is exciting. And then in this case, there were two covers they shared with me. This one, which was what they call spot gloss, where just bits of the parts were gloss, not the entire cover. So it was just little pieces, maybe of the water and so forth, that had a glossy finish. And then the other cover is on the wall. I don't know if you can see it too well there, but, and then here are the folded and gusseted pages. So then I got a chance to take a look at it here to see how it really will look with the illustrations and the text together. And then, you know, if there were any changes to be made, that's when those were made. You know, maybe adding more details and or anything to the back matter just to get it all done and right. And then after that, I received the ARC, which is the advanced reader copy. And that's when you see it, you know, it starts to look like a book. It's soft copy, but everything kind of is, you know, together, and you see the page turns, and, you know, it feels like it's becoming more real. And then, of course, the next bit is when it becomes the actual book itself, and it has the hard back and so forth. So that was the journey of the book. I hope that was helpful. And again, I just want to say chain make witch, and thank you so much again for this very, very humbling award. It means so very much to me. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Janice Mateo Toledo, and I'm delighted to present A Wish in the Dark. A Wish in the Dark, written by Christina Soontornvat and published by Candlewick Press, is the winner of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award in the category for older children. A Wish in the Dark takes place in a Thai-inspired fantasy world where we meet Pang, a young boy who is the son of a female inmate born in Namwan Prison. The law requires that Pang remain there until he is 13 years old, and once released, will continue to be marked for life by a tattoo on his wrist. When Pang sees the opportunity to escape, he takes the chance, but lives in fear of being discovered. Nak, the daughter of the prison warden and a fierce firefighter, wishes to be the perfect daughter. She believes that if she captures the escaped prisoner, she will vindicate her father and win the approval of her parents. One day, she speaks to her father about the importance of following laws. Nak states, "If you work hard and follow the law, good things happen to you. The law is the light, and the light shines on the worthy." Her father tilted his head at her. "Where did you hear that?" "School," said Nak. "We're learning the governor's proverbs." "Ah, of course," he said dully. "I'd forgotten that one." Nak didn't see how. The same proverb hung on the wall at the prison where he worked. But this was before she was old enough to learn that her father actually spent as little time in the prison as possible. He cleared his throat and cleaned his glasses. "Sometimes things aren't as simple as they teach you in school." "What do you mean?" "Well, sometimes light shines on the worthy, but sometimes it just shines on the lucky ones. And sometimes," he looked over his shoulder at the east side, glittering like a rainbow across the river, "sometimes good people get trapped in the dark." As the novel unfolds, Nak questions her life in a wealthy family and begins to uncover how people are harmed by the governor's laws that control the city's power and all aspects of their life. Nak eventually decides to stand with Pang and for all people who are oppressed by the governor. Loosely based on Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, Christina Soontornvat weaves a beautifully narrated fantasy novel filled with love, understanding, community, and compassion for the other. For creating a novel that encourages reader reflection and dialogue about structural social inequity and the role of protests in creating social change, I present the winner of the Jane Addams Children's Book Award in the Books for Older Children category to Christina Soontornvat. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today, and I want to start off by thanking the Jane Addams Children's Book Award Committee so much for all of their work in judging the award this year. I know that this was not an easy year to add the committee work to your already busy plates, so I just appreciate you so much. The list that you put together this year is incredible, and it is an honor to be listed alongside authors whose work I admire, people like Aida Salazar and Veronica Chambers, people who have been shining a light in our industry for so long, like Cheryl and Wade Hudson, Alex Gino, Jason Reynolds, and so many more. I am humbled and grateful to be in their company. I believe that A Wish in the Dark is the first fantasy novel to be given the award for older readers, and that makes me so very happy because the books that turned me into a lifelong reader are fantasy books. I always have loved magical and fantastical stories. And fantasy stories have a long legacy of tackling important social topics in their pages. Sometimes the best way to look at problems in our own world is to examine it in a completely different and magical world. Now, for all of my love of fantasy, when I was a young child, books that I had access to were very limited to a white Western perspective. I did not read books by authors who represented me until I was out of high school. And I certainly didn't ever read fantasy that was set in an Asian place. So this is a double thrill to have A Wish in the Dark honored because it is set in a world that is inspired by a magical Thailand. I thought that I would give you just a little bit of background about the book and the inspiration for the book. If you've read A Wish in the Dark, you know that it is a twist on a, quote, classic novel, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. And this is a book that I encountered for the first time when I was 10 years old. I did not read it when I was 10 years old. That would have been amazing. Actually, my mom was reading it, and we were on a family trip to Thailand, and she would read the book during the day and then recap it for me, summarize it for me every night. And then I read it for myself when I was in high school. This is a book that got me to ask a lot of questions about society, about justice, about the labels that we put on each other and the dangers of those labels. When I was in high school, we were not using the term privilege in the way that we are now, but this is a book that very much got me to examine my own privilege and my own assumptions that I make about other people. I would say that it was a transformative book for me. Now, if we flash forward to 2016, when I was sitting down to write a new middle grade novel, I had been thinking about exploring some of the themes in Les Miserables, but I just wasn't really sure how to go about it. I'm not certain when it clicked to me to set the world in a magical Thailand, but once I did, everything really started to flow. Maybe it was me remembering that trip when I was 10 years old, when we were in Thailand and I was hearing the story. I want to share a photograph with you. This is one of my favorite pictures of my dad and his brother and sister and other family members. This is taken at the airport when he was immigrating from Thailand to the United States. I have always loved this picture because it's just so 60s, like his suits and the Thai silk dresses with the beehive hairdos. And when I was writing A Wish in the Dark, the soundtrack that I put together was very much like hits from the swingin' 60s that my dad would listen to. His stories of growing up in Bangkok were always ones that I loved to hear. They were so magical to me. They were like my own version of fairy tales. At the time when my dad was a kid, Bangkok looked very much like the cover of this book. You know, Bangkok, it's a city on the river where the river is the beating heart of the city. And it's very much still that way today in many ways. And so I set out to write the story of Bong and Nok. And Bong is very much based on my dad and his friends who would just run wild up and down the canals in Bangkok. And Nok is a girl who questions her own privilege and who starts to ask big questions about her own role in perpetuating inequality. And she is very much based on myself. People often ask me, what do you hope young readers take away from your book? What do you hope people learn when they read your book? I hope that they ask questions. I hope they have discussions. You know, I've been very lucky to have author visits, virtual author visits with schools during this time. And we had these fantastic discussions. You know, the kids are asking such pointed, brilliant questions, and they have such great ideas. They're really thinking deeply about these topics. As an author, I don't think of myself as a teacher. I don't think it's my role to teach my readers anything. What I want to do is write stories that empower them to follow their own best instincts and to follow their own innate goodness that I think that they have. Like Father Chum, who's a character in the book, I believe that we all have a light that's inside of us, and that light is compassion. And I believe that books, such as the books that we're here to honor today, are the fuel that lets that light burn bright. And I want to thank you all so much for all the work you do. You are shining a light for all of us all the time, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Welcome back together live. That was so rich. My goodness. Welcome to all who are with us. Again, I'm Susan Freese. You saw you before the ceremony and happy to see you again. President of the board. So my dear friends, my goodness, what a rich offering from each of you. I felt like, okay, I had provocative questions to ask and they were answered multiple times, or multiple fold, I should say. Michaela is with us, and Michaela was super busy and unable to do a presentation on film. And Michaela, I wonder, do you want to say a few things about your process or about working with Carole? Please.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to jump in. I know everybody's busy, so I hate to use that reason. It just came at a crazy time, but I did just want to say a few words about being here today with you all. I'm in Sitka, Alaska right now, which is traditional Tlingit Ani, Tlingit country, Tlingit land, and I'm a member of the Tlingit Haida Indian tribes of Alaska. And I'm just really happy to be here. And I wanted to say Ganesh thank you to the Jane Addams Selection Committee for lifting up We Are Water Protectors for this honor alongside all of these other brilliant books and creators who I admire. It's so encouraging and affirming, and I'm truly grateful. The research for We Are Water Protectors was intense and a bit of a roller coaster. I wanted to try to understand and wrap my head around the events of Standing Rock as best I could. And working on this book was quite a roller coaster as well. Lots of feelings of sorrow, frustration, anger, hope, courage. And I really wanted the art to speak to those themes while also appealing to children. And I felt that Carole's text handled it really beautifully, and I wanted to rise to the occasion and help amplify the story. I thought that cosmic, universal, and Mother Earth imagery would hopefully speak to a wider audience, and then layers of symbolism and tucked away details would hopefully help more Native readers feel seen. And I was intimidated and spent a good deal of time thinking about whether I was the best fit for the story, because I feel like it's an important question to ask, especially working on stories by Indigenous authors and just marginalized voices in general. But I felt that if I could communicate a sense of ya'at une, which is respect for all things, I felt that I could do the story justice. And the 2016 gathering at Standing Rock was historic, and thousands of water protectors, both Native and non-Native, congregated in solidarity at the Sacred Stone Camp. It became the largest intertribal alliance in documented history, and it was my goal to speak to this unity and the diversity within that unity through different ages, skin colors, traditional regalia, and also contemporary clothing. And overall, I wanted to paint a rich tapestry of contemporary Indigenous people because we're so often fighting erasure and misrepresentation. And we are still here and still fighting, and in many different ways. Working on this book helped me more deeply understand art as activism and picture books as activism. And for that, I will always be grateful. And Standing Rock was sadly not an isolated event. The book needed to feel timeless in that sense. In our country, there's a long, dark legacy of land theft and broken treaties, of colonialism and its systematic attempts to eliminate. So I needed to speak to that. But there's also a long legacy of Indigenous resistance and Indigenous-led movements to protect our lands and ways of life, and yet the land and ways of life for all. So many of these fights are still ongoing, like the fights against Coastal GasLink, Keystone, Line 3 pipelines, alongside other fights for environmental justice. And here in Sitka, it's an ongoing fight to protect our herring population, which are a touchstone species for everything, our whole way of life here in Southeast Alaska, Native and non-Native. So we're fighting to protect it from commercial overharvest. And today I'm inspired by all of the youth we have. There's so many young folks who are at the forefront of environmental justice issues. And all the books I work on, I hope that Indigenous children leave the story feeling seen and celebrated, because they're so often told the opposite in our world. Additionally, it's vital that non-Native children see these stories centering Native peoples in a multitude of experiences. I was and am greatly honored to have helped bring this book to life and to be here with all of you today. It's affirming to know the whole book team helped raise awareness of environmental injustice and Indigenous rights, and it was a true team effort. So thank you to Carole for your story, to our agents and teams, and to the Rowing Brook team who really championed this book from the very beginning. and to the Standing Rock Water Protectors and water protectors everywhere, Atlaim Shish, for your resilience and courage to fight for Mother Earth in the face of injustice, apathy, and violence. And thank you to all of our children who are our future, and to everyone who helped lift this book up. And again, to the Jane Addams Selection Committee, thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Well, where do we start with our conversation? I certainly spoke earlier about creativity and collaboration, and there's been nothing but evidence of that. I said, and pondering the violence that we see today and the unveiling of, I don't want to use root system because that's too positive of a term, the systemic intertwined injustice that is historic and completely present. Ms. Michaela, you talked about, as you delved into the project, your sadness and your what you had to work with. And I want to bring that into our conversation while at the same time recognizing the term artist activists. I see that across the board here. And your all of you writing books and creating things that empower, a mirror for empowering, a open heart for a window, and as someone said, I think Aida, a roadmap for action. Given this as a general topic, and more so given what you've heard each other say today, what comes to mind? What is up for you today in all of we have shared and the world we are in? And go ahead, anyone who wants to start, just unmute yourself. Or you can, and then you can, if you want, we can also raise just a physical hand.
I guess I could start. I think that the thing that I feel after being, for me, reading books when I was younger, there were books like this available for me. I didn't see I didn't see brown children, I didn't see black children, I didn't see children of different colors. It was all the, Mary Poppins. It was books that I just never felt like I connected to them. For me, like I'd say Little House on the Prairie was always a very a book I struggled with because I loved those books because they were like, a family together, and it was such a positive thing, but yet at the same time, I was considered a savage and a wild Indian, and so I didn't understand how that could be. So I can never find myself in these stories. So seeing the books that we have here today that are honored, it's so amazing, and it gives me hope. Just so much hope for the future that we are making changes. I already see it when I talk with children and I hear what they say, and I hear what they're always asking, what could I do? What can I do? They know, they're so smart. They know what is going on. It's the adults that keep getting in the way, So this just gives me hope, and that we are affecting the world, and I'm just grateful to be here with you all, and I just love you, and I love what you do, and I'm honored to share this with you.
To add to that, I've kind of come to a recent realization that I find it kind of strange that a lot of children's books are kind of setting this expectation that children can only really identify with fantasy, or they can only really identify or enjoy cute, nice, happy things. And I struggle to understand how anyone expects the world to progress or change in any way if we're kind of delaying that change or that understanding until they're 20, 21. an adult. So I think it's really good that books like ours are starting to become more commonplace, and like children of all cultural identities are starting to see themselves in books, because how on earth do you expect things to change or progress when it's delayed until they're an adult and quite often already instilled with old ideas and old customs. So yeah, I think that's why books like the ones that we've all created should be kind of taking over from the magic fairylands and toadstools and all that rubbish.
I heard a great quote the other day. Our children are living nonfiction lives. And I thought that summed things up so beautifully. Like, we're in the past, as you say, Katie, presenting these fantasies with, leprechauns and all that. Not that there isn't a place for that, but our kids are dealing with homelessness, they're dealing with isolation, they're dealing with oppression and all of these things. And won't it be great for them to open these books and say, okay, I'm not the only one struggling. I can take an example from this character and add it to what I'm doing, or I don't have to just take it. I can join with others. There's just so many great messages in the books that are represented here. And as I said, I'm so happy to be a part of the industry at this time. And if we've got the door cracked open, we've got to push it open even further, not just in front of the office, but inside of the office, for diverse voices to really, really take root in our culture.
I want to add that I think children have a really innate sense of justice. If you spend any time with children, they'll say, well, that's not fair. They will call it out like immediately. And I think that, like childhood, like imagination, like their own agency to kind of express themselves, that sort of awareness and that fire that they have to find justice gets beaten out of them, so to speak, as we tell them, no, well, the laws say this, and the rules historically have said this. And so I think that what all of our work does is provide that, what Ekwa said, that opening. It cracks open that that possibility that, oh yeah, that justice that I see, or that injustice that I see, I can speak to that, and I can do something about that. And it kind of allows them to be true to themselves. And I hope, that that's what we as adults can continue to nurture for children.
I can jump in as well. Picking up on what you said, Ada, as well as, Katie, pretty much everybody here, we're all saying the same thing. And I have a quote here from one of my wonderful colleagues up here. It's, "You can't run away from the darkness, it's everywhere. The only way to see through it is to shine a light." And of course, that's Christina's quote from her amazing book. But I think the way that we interpret light, it might be a different thing. For me, I view light as truth, and diversity to me is truth. That is what reality is, and that is what we should be reflecting in our books that we read, in the movies we watch. And equity and equality is truth. Just because that we're not seeing that reflected in the world around us because of the, as you mentioned, Susan, the systemic structures that are in place right now, I think it becomes less of a question of how can I empower kids to recognize, like you just mentioned, the injustice in the world. It's not a question for me about how can I do that, it's why must I? Because to me, and I'm pretty sure everybody else here feels that way, it's not really a choice anymore, because once you see the light, whatever your version of that is, once you see that truth, it becomes something that is so rooted into what makes us as people, but also as creatives, that it becomes impossible to not try to share that. Because I do believe that, what we're really trying to do here with all of these books, it's not just to inspire and to empower. We want to tell an amazing story. We want to tell their truth, whether that's in fiction or nonfiction. Both of those are avenues to tell truth. right? But I think what we're really trying to do is raise innovators and leaders who feel confident to then take these stories and turn them into some form of action that resonates with them. And to me, the only way to, grow new leaders is to try, as scared as we are, to step into that role of leader ourselves and of innovator ourselves, even if we're terrified to do it and we're worried about, what everybody's going to say, or, all the systems of power working against us. I think that is the path to building new leaders and growing new leaders, so that hopefully they can recognize that I have a voice, and that voice is above all the most powerful thing that we have. So this is why I'm so honored to be here with all of you lovely people today, because you not only have voices, but you're using them. And I think that's inspiring for kids out there, but also other creatives like me who, we're all in this together. And I think it's fantastic to, as you mentioned, what we're seeing now happening in the world, that's change. That is empowerment, that's magic. So I'm really, really happy to be able to be playing some tiny role into this, wall of change that I hope we're bringing of truth and light.
I love what you're saying, Jess. I completely agree. And to piggyback on what Aqua said as well, it's a great time to be in the industry, especially as an introvert. For me, with everything that's been going on the past few years, as a mother, as a community member, I have felt powerless on more than one occasion. I often feel powerless because I don't feel like I have a very big voice inherently. I'm not confrontational. I wish I could take a knee with Colin, right? I wish I could dance on the stage and be the first to be a prima ballerina for the American Ballet, but that's not who I am inherently. But to have an avenue where we can be activists, where we can speak out and have that expression accepted, applauded, awarded, in fact, have it taught in classrooms to inspire others who may be the leaders, is such a gift to me. It's a gift to see others who are able to do the same. I feel like, and I don't know about the other panelists, but I assume that at least some of us are introverts. I feel like we're an army of introverts and we're using our voices and we're making a change in a way that perhaps is unexpected, but so powerful. And when these librarians are saying, yes, these are the books that we were looking for, thank you. When these teachers have the courage to bring these stories into classrooms and explore them with children who can relate personally and who are learning something new, something that doesn't directly relate to them, that is opening so many doors. So I think as creatives, this is a beautiful time for us. And I hope that other creators who are watching and listening continue to create for this time, because this generation, they're open, the door is cracked, and it's opening wider and wider and wider as we continue to talk, read, discuss with the change makers who are our young people. So I'm thrilled to be in this room at this time with these people. It's an incredible, incredible experience.
Just to add to what you were saying, Angela, about to talk and the conversations that need to be had, I think we kind of have the privilege of doing what we do. I kind of see picture books and children's books in general as like a stepping stone. Like, we're not here to tell children exactly how they should think or what they should do, but we're here to kind of instigate a conversation. And I think the best place to start or instigate any change or progress is at home. And it's everybody has someone in their life, be it a family member or a colleague or a friend or another child at school, who is not going to have the most progressive outlook. And I think someone said, I think it was Aida, said that children have this kind of guts that we don't really have as adults to go, actually that's not okay, or that's not right. And like, if they can say that to a family member, whereas I think a lot of when you kind of get to adulthood, you don't always feel as comfortable calling out a family member. But if a 5-year-old can do it, and if a 5-year-old can instigate that conversation, then that's great. That's And if they grow up thinking, oh, you know, Uncle so-and-so, you shouldn't say that, or, you know, someone in my class, you probably shouldn't treat someone like that. You know, that's, if we can be the stepping stone to those conversations, and that's, you know, we're doing our job and we should carry on doing it.
Veronica, I think you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, I think what I wanted to say about just about the sort of diversity of voices that we were able to work on. I think we often thought that suffragists were futurists because it took over 100 years to get the vote, which I know everyone who knows Jane Addams knows, but the idea, it's been really interesting to talk to kids. And what I love to convey to them is that they are forced to compete all the time in testing and athletics and everything. But this was really about a movement about women who just did the right thing and did the right thing because it was the right thing for humanity, not necessarily for them. That Mabel Pingwa Lee did not, at 16, she took on suffrage, knowing that the Chinese Exclusion Act meant that she wasn't going to be able to vote. And I think that sense that it's not for the gram and it's not for the likes and it's not for the award and it's not for the application, but just the sense that to be with other people when you're moving forward, that forward is a pace, and that if you're part of that pace, then you're growing and you're part of an adventure. I think it's a weird parallel to, I think, where we are with the literature, that, you know, there's a lot of different things and places that we're all at in our careers and with our work. But what you see when you look at the page of award winners and honorees is you see the pace of forward. And I think that we should always applaud that for kids as well as for ourselves.
Absolutely. Robert, Benjamin, do you have something you want to add, or are we ready to wrap it up? Thank you so much to all of you.
Yeah, I think this is a great place to transition. We definitely want to thank all of our participants today on behalf of the Jane Addams Peace Association Board of Directors. Thank you to all of the participants for our virtual award ceremony, and we especially want to thank our amazing authors and illustrators. And thank you for the work that you do to inspire children and their adults, especially, you know, in our local, in our national, and our international context, where we see so much conflict, where we see so much tension, where we see so much poverty and war and fighting. Your work is desperately needed. And so we thank you for taking the time to be with us today, but we also thank you for your heart for this work, your heart for children, and really inspiring this current generation and even future generations as your work continues to go forth even after you may no longer be here. So we thank you all for being here, but we also want to encourage our participants to partake in this work as well. And so through the Jane Addams Peace Association, we have a program that's called the Books in Their Hands program, where you are able to donate to the organization financially. You're able to determine which library or local school that you would like to put books in children's hands through. And so we encourage you to do that by visiting the Jane Addams Peace Association website, and you can select from the authors and illustrators that we celebrated today to be able to send their work and their literature to your local library and other schools, institutions, and things of that nature. And so I know we experienced a little bit of technical difficulty in the beginning of the ceremony today, and so we are going to reintroduce Ben Sapp, who serves as the director of the Masden Museum at the University of Tennessee. Thank you again for joining us today.
Robert, thank you. I too would like to thank the Jane Addams Children's Book Award Committee for allowing the University of Findlay's Masden Museum to host this wonderful event. I'd also like to congratulate and thank today's authors and illustrators for their words and their art that create resources for us to share for years to come. Please, please keep creating. And last but not least, I would like to thank all of you in attendance today for being a part of this award ceremony. Besides learning about the art and literature, I hope that this event provided you with an inspiration to share these wonderful works with others. Thank you. Peace be with all of you.